public safety budget. We will get started with budget recommendations. Today, we'll start with Kansas C-Post first. We'll start with FY 2023. I did not see anything that particularly jumped out at me, but I'll open it up for discussion on C-Post 23 if anyone has anything to discuss. Okay. Then I would entertain a motion to go with the governor's recommendation on FY 2023.
So moved.
Second. Could I get a second? Okay, Representative Delperdang. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? All right, moving to FY 24. Once again, nothing popped out at me. Is there any discussion on FY 24? Could we get a motion to go with the, yes, sir.
I move that we accept the Kansas Sentencing Commission's budget.
C-Post.
Oh, we're not on 24. I'm sorry. I'm ahead.
You're all right.
I'm too far. On Kansas Commission of Peace Officer Standards Training for 24.
All right, we have a motion. Got a second? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Very good. Now, any discussion on FY 23 on Kansas Sentencing Commission? All right, could we get a motion to go with the governor's recommendation on FY 23?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that the committee pass out the sentencing corrections. I'm sorry, I'll screw it up too. Kansas Sentencing Commission, the governor's recommended budget for 2023.
Second. Representative Delperdang. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Very good. Moving on to FY 2024. Any discussion on 24's budget? These were easy. All right. Could I get a motion to go with the governor's recommendation on FY 24?
Chairman, I move that we pass the Kansas Sentencing Commission for 24.
There we go. Could we get a second? Representative Resman. All in favor? Say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Those were nice and easy. All right. Now we will move on to budget hearings. We'll start with Abstractors Board of Examiners. And we will be waiting for our analyst a few minutes. So we'll take a pause.
Come on.
All right, we will get started with budget hearings on Abstractors Board of Examiners.
Hi, Chairman Anderson, and wait, is this on? Yeah. Okay. Hi, Chairman Anderson and members of the committee. My name is Molly, and I will be presenting the budget for Abstractors Board of Examiners. Abstractors search county and court records for all legal transactions and legal issues involving the description of a property in order to verify whether the title to the property is free and clear of all restrictions and encumbrances. In 2022, the Kansas Legislature approved a budget of $25,717, all from the Abstractors Fee Fund for the Abstractors Board of Examiners in fiscal year 2023. If you turn to page 2, you will find the budget highlights and note that the governor concurs with the agency's estimates for all 3 years. On page 3, you will see the Abstractors Fee Fund. The only source of funds for the agency is the fee fund, and the revenue deposited into the fee fund provides financing for all agency operations. They generate revenue from 3 sources of fees: annual licensing fees, examination fees for first-time examinees, and examination fees for repeat examinees. On page 5, you will see that the agency submits a revised estimate of $25,717, all from the fee fund, and expenditures for fiscal year 2023. This is the same amount approved by the 2022 legislature. And the agency is not submitting any changes for this year. Notable adjustments include an increase of $21 for contractual services, though this is offset by a decrease of $21 in other expenditure categories. And the governor concurs with the agency's revised estimate. On page 7, you will see the summary of the budget request for fiscal year 2024. The agency requests $25,711 from the fee fund and expenditures for fiscal year 2024. This is a decrease of about $6. The agency estimates that salaries and wages will decrease by $6 or less than 0.1%, for a total of $21,432. And this is due to changes in employer contributions. And the governor concurs with the request. And finally, on page 8, you will see the summary of the budget request for fiscal year 2025. The agency requests $25,723, all from the Abstractors Fee Fund and expenditures for fiscal year 2025. And this is an increase of $12 above the amount requested for fiscal year 2024. The increase is due to changes in employer contributions. And the governor concurs with the agency's request. Chair, if you would like me to explain the program for the agency, the administration program, I can. Otherwise, I stand open for questions.
Yeah, we'll start with questions. Any questions on any of the 3 years for our analyst? All right, I think we can move on then. We will go to Sean Herrick. Representative Delberde.
Thank you. Just a curiosity question for self. Why are we going out to 25?
This is a biennial agency, so they submit requests for 3 years instead of 2.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I think we're all right. Thank you very much. Yep. Sean Herrick, thank you for joining.
Brief, chairman and committee, and I was going to step up and take up that time while we were waiting, but I didn't think that was the right protocol. So I appreciate being here today to testify to you, and you've got my testimony in front of you. I will just say that I've been there a little over 4 years, and this is my 4th time through the process, relieving Glenn McQueen and Patricia, who had been there for over 30 years, and they decided to retire in their middle 80s. And unfortunately, Glenn passed away in last January, but they put their time in for the abstractors, and I would say that I'm about halfway through the renewals this year. 2022 we had 185 employee licenses, and we're at about 116 that I've renewed, and then 170 operative licenses for 22, and 2023 there's about 123 that I've renewed to date, and they're a little slower this year. I can say that the industry was really, really busy up until about a month and a half ago. They've caught up, and things, as you know, the industry has really slowed down. So they're getting caught up, and the E&O insurance coverage proof has, most of them have them and are sending them in. We did conduct around last fall, October 3rd, we had 10 people sitting for the exam, which is a significant increase because it was one or two maybe each year that would set for the exam, and we went to 10, 3 of those passed. Abstractors are an industry that's declining just because there's not very many people that do it, mostly in the rural areas and oil and gas abstracts. But that industry, a lot of them are retiring or passing away, and are trying real hard to get some young folks interested in becoming abstracts because they are necessary. And with that, I will go ahead and mention our 3 board members: Roger Hannaford III in Marion, Kansas, Geraldine Stoll, who is in the western part of the state, and Joe Renard, who's in Manhattan. All 3 have been on the board for a long time. I know Roger is starting to talk retirement, and we'll be searching for people to sit on the board, which have to satisfy a certain population. They have to be in the industry for over 5 years. So it'll be a little challenge for us to find somebody that's licensed and can satisfy those parameters. But we've already got one picked out for Roger when he decides to retire. So that I'd stand for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Representative Delperdang.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just curious here, does the agency not have any paid employees?
I'm their less than one employee. So I know that I remember people asking, or legislators asking last year, because we register as 0 employees,
Right.
and I assure you I do exist, but less than half, so it doesn't register on their software programs.
Okay. So do you float between different agencies, or?
No, I actually work for trade associations, but the Kansas Land Title Association, matter of fact, those two of the 3 board members are past presidents, and they asked if I would be willing to do the abstracts board. Glenn McQueen was a member of the Kansas Land Title Association for many years. So that's how I come about being the abstractors board. So it's a part-time position for the abstractors, and then the association is majority of my responsibilities.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Same people though.
Anything further? All right. Thank you very much. All right. We'll move on to the Board of Technical Professions. I will close that budget hearing and open the budget hearing on Board of Technical Professions.
Hi again, Chairman Anderson and members of the committee. Once again, I am Molly, and I will be presenting the budget request for the Board of Technical Professions. Mr. Larry Carnes, the Executive Director of the agency, is also here today. So the Board of Technical Professions provides for the protection of the health, safety, and welfare of Kansans by ensuring that the practices of architecture, landscape architecture, engineering, geology, and surveying are carried out only by those who are proven to be qualified in one or more of those areas. The 2022 Kansas Legislature approved a budget of $805,483, all from the Technical Professions Fee Fund and expenditures, as well as 5 full-time employees positions for the Board of Technical Professions in fiscal year 2023. The agency submits a revised estimate of $805,483, all from the fee fund, and 5 full-time employee positions in fiscal year 2023. And this is the same amount approved by the 2022 legislature. Notable adjustments include $346,152 for salaries and wages. This is a decrease of about $13,400 below the amount approved by the legislature. This amount will allow the agency to maintain existing staff. Also included is about $450,000 for contractual services. This is an increase of $15,392 above the amount approved by the legislature, and it's primarily due to contractual agreements between the agency and legal counsel and technical investigators. Also included is $2,000 for capital outlay. This is a decrease of $2,000 below the amount approved, and it's primarily due to computer maintenance and data storage programs. As you can see on page 2 and page 3, the governor concurs with the agency's request for fiscal year 2023 through fiscal year 2025. On page 4, you will see the source of funds for the agency. And the agency generates revenue from various different types of fees, including application fees, licensure fees, and civil fines. The Technical Professions Fee Fund has maintained an ending balance of over $2.2 million since fiscal year 2022. However, the agency anticipates that expenditures will increase in fiscal year 2023 through fiscal year 2025, and this could lead to the fund's balance not growing at the same rate as it has in previous years. On page 6, you will find the summary of the fiscal year 2023 budget request. The agency submits a revised estimate of $805,483, all from the fee fund and expenditures in fiscal year 2023. This is the same amount approved by the 2022 legislature. I previously mentioned that the revised estimate includes $346,152 in salaries and wages, which is a decrease of about $14,000. Also included is contractual services in the amount of $451,831, which is an increase of about $15,000 above the amount approved by the 2022 legislature. This increase is once again due to legal fees and technical investigators with whom the agency contracts, as well as increased computer programming services, data processing services, and database access fees. Also included is $2,000 in capital outlay, which is $2,000 below the amount approved by the 2022 legislature. The agency request includes 5 full-time employee positions, which is the same number of positions as approved by last year's legislature. And the governor concurs with the agency's revised estimate. On page 9, you will see the budget request for fiscal year 2024. The agency requests $808,720, all from the Board of Technical Professions Fee Fund and expenditures for fiscal year 2024. This is an increase of $3,237, or 0.4%, above the agency's fiscal year 2023 revised estimate. The request includes the following adjustments. Approximately $361,700 in salaries and wages, which is an increase of $15,568, or 4.5%, above the fiscal year 2023 revised estimate. And this increase is due to an increase in employer contributions. Also included is about $439,000 in contractual services, which is a decrease of $12,331, or 2.7%, below the fiscal year 2023 revised estimate. The decrease is due to out-of-state travel, including subsistence and private vehicle mileage. And the agency request also includes 5 full-time employee positions, and the governor concurs with this request. And finally, on page 10, you will see the budget request for fiscal year 2025. The agency requests $810,850, all from the Technical Professions Fee Fund and expenditures for fiscal year 2025. This is an increase of $2,130, or 0.3%, above the agency's fiscal year 2024 request. Included in the request is approximately $363,850 in salaries and wages, which is an increase of $2,130, or 0.6%, above the fiscal year 2024 request, and this is also due to an increase in employer contributions. Once again, the agency is requesting 5 full-time employee positions, and the governor concurs with this request. And with that, I am open to any questions that the committee may have.
Any questions for the analyst? Representative Resman. Representative Delberding.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Looking at page 5, and it references a statute. Agency retains 90% of the revenue it receives, excluding civil fines. The agency deposits 10% into the SGF with a maximum of 100,000 per year per fund. Is that 100,000? I'll just use for the sake of this conversation. Is the 100,000 is that included in the overall expenditures that shows in the graph just below it, where it shows a list of expenditures and revenues each year?
I'm sorry, could you rephrase the question?
Okay, or can you revise it?
Shirley might be able to provide a better answer.
Okay, and in your earlier question about some of our agencies have 3 years of budgets. In statute, we have what we call biennial agencies. Most of these are the fee board agencies, and every other year they submit 3 years worth of budgets per statute.
Right.
In addition to that, in statute, there is a provision for the Department of Administration to withhold from their revenue stream. So you do not see the reduction of this 10% in their revenue stream. So what you see in the table does not include that.
That was
deduction.
my question. That was my question.
Yes.
Okay.
And that is the Department of Administration providing accounting service, legal service, different things to the fee board agencies as part of their services.
Okay. And then part 2, if I may, Chairman. On that same graph on page 5, it looks like each year, starting with 2020, is 2.2 million in ending balance, and it climbs each year. What are the excess and fee funds you actually used for? Are we just building a big savings account, or are they allocated it for something at some point?
I believe that they deposit it into the fee fund. The executive director might be able to provide a better answer to that with what they do with the excess balance.
Okay. I would just be curious at when the time is appropriate. Thank you.
Any further questions for the analyst? All right. Thank you very much. We'll move on to Larry Carnes.
Members of the committee, Mr. Chairman, I'm Larry Carnes. I'm the executive director of the agency. I've prepared a page of written testimony just explaining what our agency does. Rather than go through that with you, basically we license about 17,000 individuals and a little less than 3,000 companies in Kansas. And approximately 3/4 of those are outside of the state. So a lot of them are reciprocity licensees living in other states. People that are architects, engineers, that sort of thing, if they have a project in Kansas, they have to be licensed to be able to do that project in Kansas. So, and just like our architects, engineers, that sort of thing that are residents of Kansas, they're licensed in many states because they do projects not just here in Kansas, but elsewhere. So our revenues are based on, by and large, renewal applications and reciprocity applications, and they fluctuate some depending on the amount of commerce and building and that sort of thing that's going on in the state. Over the past few years, we've had a lot going on with interest rates being so low. Obviously, things are slowing down a little bit now, and that could affect our income to some degree. Speaking a little bit to your question about our excess, we're approaching 3 times our annual operating budget in excess. We don't have any particular plans for that particular money, although we are, I won't go into detail, but there is some concern about liability for our board and our board members with the licensing we do and things that happen out there in construction projects. And I would point to the Hyatt tragedy 30 years ago, and more recently the collapse in Miami of the hotel or the apartment building that collapsed. And members of the design professions often find themselves in lawsuits over that, and occasionally licensing boards are brought in as well. Anyway, I'd be happy to stand for any other questions.
Have you been part of one of those lawsuits recently? And if, okay.
I've been there 4 years and we've not had any litigation.
Do you know of any time prior to that the board has been involved? Any further questions? All right. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
All right. If there's no objection from the committee, we're going to move on to recommendations for the two that we just heard. All right. Well, then let's move into recommendations on the Abstractors Board of Examiners. It's a pretty small one. We'll start with FY 2023. Is there any discussion? All right. Not seeing any. Could we get a motion to go with the governor's recommendation on FY 23?
I move that the committee pass out the abstract Board of Examiners recommended budget for, governor's recommended budget for 2023.
Get a second.
Second.
Second by Representative Hoy. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? All right. Moving on to FY 24. Any discussion on FY 24's budget? It's a $6 decrease. Could we get a motion to go with the governor's recommendation on FY 24? Need a second? All right. All in favor of passing FY 24? Opposed? Let's move to FY 25. Any discussion on this? Can we get a motion to go with the governor's recommendation on FY 25's budget? Second? Second by Representative Weigel. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? All right. Close the recommendation on Abstractors Board of Examiners and open the budget recommendation on Board of Technical Professions. We will start with FY 23. Is there any discussion? All right. Can we get a motion to go with the governor's recommendation on FY 23? Get a second. Representative Hoy. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Moving on to FY 24. Is there any discussion on FY 24's budget? Can we get a motion to go with the governor's recommendation on FY 24?
So moved.
Can we get a second?
So moved.
All right. All in favor of FY 24's budget, say aye. Opposed? Can we move on to FY 25? Any discussion? This was quick. All right. Could we get a motion to go with the governor's recommendation on FY 25?
Chairman.
Could we get a second? Second by Representative Ellis. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Very good. Quick and easy. All right. We will close the budget recommendation on Board of Technical Professions. Our next meeting is tomorrow. Thanks for joining.